Okay, so after you have them drawn out, notice I have my head, top view, side view. Okay, I have those all drawn out. This is what we're going to be measuring to create. So if this is the side of my duck, I am making this form that goes in the center. Okay? Any questions about that? Okay, so this is going to have to be smaller than my duck, right? So we're going to be taking off about 1 inch on both sides. Any questions about that? Okay, so we'll be taking off inches on this side. We'll be taking off 1 inch off the top. We'll be figuring out this angle. And then from the front, our styrofoam piece is going to be sort of like a barrel, like this. Okay, so see how it has, these have to be angled because our duck is rounded, right? It's not a square like a bus. So we need to find these measurements so that it fits with your pattern. So first thing I need to know is the distance from here to the end of the oval, or on here it'd be the end where the tail comes up. This part we're going to have to probably dig out a little bit or try and construct it hollow as we go. Okay, so from one to the other I've got 10 inches. Okay, so that's 10 inches. If I'm taking off 2, because I have 2 sides that are going to have clay on it, right? So that's going to be 8 inches wide. So you may want to draw yourself a diagram. Okay, so this is my styrofoam. And we want it to be 8 inches. Gentlemen, stop. So there's 8 inches, right? Next thing we need to know, how far up does this need to come? So if looking at this, we want, if we're going to have our clay be approximately, I think I set it at between 1/4 and 1/2 of an inch. Okay, so we're going to take off 1/2 inch here. Make sense? So if this is 1 1/2, then it's going to be 1 inch tall right here. So here's 1 inch tall. Next thing I know is how far back does it need to come before I can start this slope. Okay, so if we're starting, this is 8. Okay, because we took 1 inch off both sides, so about like that. Okay, so you wouldn't necessarily have to draw it on the inside of here, but I want you to be able to visualize what you're trying to create. Okay, we're leaving extra here because we need to be able to round, right? We don't want that to come all the way up to the front and then he looks like he's a block. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so if we are going from here to here approximately, so I need to make this. You're going to want to label your diagram. So this is 1 inch, this is 8 inches, because you're going to have to recreate this out of styrofoam, right? And this needs to go back about 1.5 inches before it can start going up. So on here, I need to go back 1.5 inches before it starts going up. Thing I need to know is, okay, so this is 1 inch in. So from 1 inch in, it starts to go up. And then this part is about there, right? And that is, let's see here, say 2 3/4. So this is 2 3/4. I can't do upside down letters very good. So at 2 3/4, this is going to head up. So I'm going to make a slope from here to here, right? Does that make sense? First I need to know how tall this is. And so this is about 3 1/4. So this needs to go down to 2 1/2 to 2 3/4. Right? So from here to here, I know I can slope it. That's how I find my angle. Here I can go across for a ways. When it starts going down though, I have to start sloping it again, right? Does that make sense? So in order to find that, once again, I can start from one side, find out where this starts to slope down. So it is 1 1/2 from the end. So 1 1/2 from the end, and it is should be the same height as this one, right? I made it 2 3/4. So this goes across approximately, and then it slopes down, so I need to know at the end I want this to be 2 1/4 tall. 2 1/4. Okay, so that's going to be the form that fits inside here. However, from the front, remember, you have to do this to it. Okay, so this is the base. The neck part can be flat, so let's pretend this is the neck part right here that sticks out. And then you have this part come out, but you have to slope these. Okay, so maybe you're going to build it that way to start with. We do need to know how wide this is, right? So for the width, it has to be smaller than this, right? Or from the top, you're going to have it more rounded, so maybe you're going to add pieces on the sides here so that sticks out. Does that make sense? You have to be able to pull it out the bottom though. So half of this is 3 1/4 at the widest part. So at my widest part, it needs to be, if we take 1 inch off on both, so 3 1/4 times 2 is 6 1/2. Take off 2 inches, 4 1/2, right? So we need this thing to be 4 1/2 inches wide. So let's start looking at the top view. So where do I have room for top view? I'll go over here. We know we need it to be 4 1/2 inches wide, right? At the widest point. How long does this have to be? This way. What did we say on the first one? 8. Can't be any longer than 8. And do we think that this highest part is in the center or back a little ways? Okay, so it's further from the front, closer to the back, right? So if this is 8 and we want to have it closer, 4 would be in the center, right? But we want it to be smaller. So I'm going to go 3 and 5. This might not be complete center, but close. Okay, so that my beginning and ends are here, right? And it needs to get smaller so it can wrap around. Correct? We're not going to worry about trying to build this nice and round and perfect, because we're going to cover it with clay anyway, right? So to figure this out, we could go and figure out from here to here. That's my 10. I took off 1 inch here, and I took off 1 inch here. So between there, the widest point is somewhere in this area, right? And we said that this was going to be, what did we say it was going to be? 4 1/2. Okay, so 4 1/2. So here's that, and here's this, right? So this distance is 4 1/2. I would write all this stuff down, so if you get someplace, what was that again? Okay, I know that I need to go, okay, my head's here, so my slant's going to be probably at 5 1/2. So this is the slant that goes, this is the front. Does that make sense? Back. So you're going to figure out how wide is it here at the more narrow parts. So here we probably have to go into 4, right? Because we need this to go around it. Any questions about that? Okay, so you could measure, well, how far from here to this, or you could ballpark it. Like I've had some people, they just build this rectangular first, put it on top of their pattern, and then they cut it to fit their pattern. Okay, that'd be the easier way if you're, don't like numbers and measuring. That's the easiest way to get it, but you have to know the width to start off with, right? And you do have to know the length to start off with. So the easiest way, like I said, once you get the, what do you call that, the height, the elevation view of it done, the height's right, you can stick it off here, and you can crop your corners so it fits. Okay. Any questions about how that works? You will put your styrofoam inside of a plastic bag, which will make it easier to pull out. Okay. And sometimes we've ended up having to cut the styrofoam up to get it to pull out because the clay is so tight on it, but it gives you a little bit more wiggle room. Okay. You can use a little bit of hot glue if you're needing to put pieces together to get what you need. Or you can just ran a piece of masking tape over it to hold it. Because remember, it's going to go inside of a bag that holds it in place. It doesn't have to be like solid, like you're going to throw it at somebody. Okay. After that, I have the slab roller set up the thickness I want you to roll your clay slabs out. Okay. So you'll just roll it out and you'll start wrapping it around. Obviously, you don't put it on the bottom.